We should have named the podcast 13 Seconds.
How long I last.
The lights are closer this time, and we're closer than ever, even though you're moving. Is that too loud? You and your Zeugelhoff's house. You really don't like it, huh?
No.
I mean, look, it's slim pickings here in Portland where there's IPAs everywhere. Everything's hoppy. I don't care about hoppy beers at all. I like my citrusy, banana, or non-filtered beer that you can't even see through. Those are my beers. You'll just drink anything with alcohol. God, I forgot about the Bud Light thing.
I know.
Were they too woke? Is that what it is?
They were too woke, so they went broke.
They're not broke. They still make tons of money.
Modelo is now the highest selling beer, not Bud Light.
Modelo?
Yeah, but I believe Modelo is still owned by Anheuser-Busch, if I'm correct. So it's like...
There's a lot owned by Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
You know, I dated a killer whale trainer at SeaWorld. Every 2 weeks, they got a free case of beer because they're owned by Anheuser-Busch. And we get to go see the Clydesdales and hang out in Orlando.
Nice.
Anyway, that was a long time ago.
Many moons ago.
Many moons. Welcome back to another edition of The House that Alan Built. I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
Today we're going to talk about draft results, free agency acquisitions, the Madden cover, Josh Allen's relationships, OTAs, which ended last week. Then we're going to get in the training camp and finish with the schedule.
Yep.
So let's get started.
We won't do a super long in-depth dive into the draft, or we're a little bit, we missed the boat on that one. We meant to do the podcast
a couple months ago
sooner, and yeah, life happened. We've been busy.
Yeah.
Summertime, so we figured, given all the just stuff that's kind of gone on in the last couple months, we figured it'd be a good time to get back behind the camera.
We are in front of the camera. First round, first pick.
The Buffalo Bills select Dalton Kincaid, tight end, Utah.
Yeah, so we were where were we at for the draft?
We were hoping for Jack Campbell.
No, where were we physically at?
Oh,
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh,
So we were eating at Buffalo Wild Wings because we aren't in Buffalo and can't have the superior wings, so we had to settle for the
they
third
have
world.
improved on their sizes, and I love their sauce variety.
Yeah,
But they're just inferior. They're never going to be Buffalo where they're like double fried or crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. It's just
New York Up Shout podcast now is sponsored by Wing Nuts, and that's the talk of the town in Buffalo right now is Wing Nuts.
no longer a secret.
Apparently, it's awesome, and so
Sauce'em.
Yeah, awesome. And so I wish that we were eating there during the draft. But alas, we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we move up to pick 25, and a name is getting ready to be announced. And who did you think it was going to be in your
Well, I didn't think it was going to be Jack Campbell anymore because he got picked early.
Yes.
He went like 15, 16, something. We're like, damn.
Went to the Lions, man. They got Jahmyr Gibbs early, which was a surprise.
Yep.
Bijan Robinson went in the top 10. Then you had Jahmyr Gibbs go just barely outside the top 10, and it's like after all that talk leading up to the draft about running backs being devalued and not being taken in the first anymore.
Well, the Lions lost one of their running backs, actually two of their running backs, because they ended up trading another one that was an early round, hopeful that just kind of fizzled out. And
they shipped out DeAndre Swift to the Eagles.
Yeah, that
shipped out Jamal Williams to the Saints.
Yep. Miles Sanders is no longer with the Eagles, so they needed another running back.
So the Lions got a great running back, and then they got what could be a fantastic linebacker. So.
But we went with Dalton Kincaid, which was kind of a surprise because we have Dawson Knox. Dalton Knox.
Yeah.
I combined the two. We have Dawson Knox already.
And Dawson Kincaid.
And yeah, you know how many people will do that or have done it already? And their numbers, 86 and 88.
The DK brothers.
I almost named my son Saber Knox because I thought it was such a cool, masculine, strong name. But Saber is pretty badass. Knox is a great first tight end, and then you've got somebody who's sure-handed because last year we had drops. Okay, there was no doubt we had drops. And when you need an insurance plan with a shitty offensive line or just inconsistent, they did some upgrades there too. He's sure-handed, runs great routes, he's young, he'll be a great complement to Knox, and maybe they'll do a two tight end set and they'll change their offensive philosophy.
Yeah.
Maybe incorporate more of the screen game where they can block.
When the name was getting ready to be announced, I thought it was going to be a wide receiver. It's like all of a sudden they move up 2 picks from 27 to 25, I'm like, I'm still thinking it's going to be wide receiver. That's been a lot of talk. I'm like, the last two positions I thought it was going to be, and I said that in the podcast before the draft. I didn't think it was going to be tight end or running back. I was pretty safe saying that, or I felt safe saying that. So it shocked me. I was very shocked to hear his name get called. Yeah. And then as we've gotten a lot of information about him and heard many people's opinions on him, it seems like it's I think many people amongst Bills Mafia are starting to really warm up to the pick, and I think just knowing that kind of the initial reports coming out of OTAs is just again how sure-handed he is, and that's been so far been documented.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone's super excited to get to training camp here in a little bit over a month, get those pads on, start actually doing some routes and not just going routes against the air, and then we'll really get to see what kind of reports are coming out and what excitement starts to build with that first-round pick that hopefully will be a pretty integral part of our offense going forward.
Yeah, Bean was talking about not likely to move up unless it was somebody that he really wanted, and they had to leapfrog Dallas, who was definitely going to go tight end. They ended up grabbing one of the other top tight ends a little later. That I'm happy with it. I was actually pretty shocked and excited. And then in the second round, we got somebody who a lot of people had graded for us in the first round. So that was another pleasant surprise. I thought it was a very solid draft overall. So we went with Florida's offensive guard O'Cyrus Torrence.
Yeah, I was very happy with that. I was when the first pick was called, I was not like enthusiastic. I was a little like kind of confused. I was confused because of the Knox contract.
Yeah.
And again, I've now had time to digest that, and I feel way better about it. This pick was to me a no-brainer, and I think that it had to have been stressful being like, oh my God, like how is this guy still available? And then is he gonna? That it's kind of like when you're doing a fantasy football draft, and there's this guy that you've been looking at all offseason, and you get to the third round, and he's sitting there, and you got one more person ahead of you, and he's right there, and you're like, oh please God, don't take him, please don't take him. It had to have been a little bit like that for the Bills, where they're like, how is this first round graded offensive lineman who's been the talk of the town still there, and oh my God, he's about to fall to us if you know.
I mean, he was the number one rated guard. He had a great Senior Bowl. He is known to be aggressive. He's going to wear number 64, which was Richie Incognito's number. Mm-hmm. I think we need somebody like that. And then we'll talk about free agency, where we also filled in with another guard. So that was our first two rounds, and then losing Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker, we needed his replacement. They went in the third round, 28th overall, and drafted a linebacker out of Tulane, who everyone projected would be a backup to Milano, but then McDermott clarified that no, he's going to go for the Mike. So
yeah, that didn't make sense to me when I heard that. It's like, why would you draft another replacement to Milano? Because last year's draft, we got Terrell...
Balin Spector and...
Spector, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Balin Spector was a late round guy. Yeah,
who did we get in the third?
Terrell Bernard was one.
That was third round, right?
Terrell Bernard.
Yeah, and so I was like, why would you get another backup for Milano, like when we were clearly trying to replace Edmonds? So it seems like, it made sense to me when they corrected that and said, no, he'll be competing for middle linebacker.
Do you remember when I messaged you in the group chat and mentioned that this guy... Dorian Williams from Tulane resembled a lot like Edmonds. Not just physical features. He was like a 3 inches shorter version of him. Lengthy, speedy, aggressive. But because he's a little smaller, he might struggle to get the passes over the middle, where Edmonds, he was just a nightmare for head coaches, or for quarterbacks.
I do remember that. You did call it way ahead of time in the group text. And it is kind of funny that Edmonds didn't have more interceptions, because of how lanky he is and how he could disrupt passing lanes. Again, you're nitpicking because he did an amazing job.
No, he was a beast. He was a great tackler, but he was bad at the angles. Remember how many missed tackles he would have, where it was just like, when he hurt his shoulder, he was like chicken winging people, trying to get them with just one arm like this. And when you extend and hyperextend...
Yeah, I guess for just how freakish he is of an athlete and his wingspan... I'm surprised he didn't have more interception splash plays, like in particular. But it's nitpicking. He's, he did a great job, and hopefully this Dorian Williams is going to be. He may not win the job right away. It might be.
He probably won't. It's probably going to be Terrell Bernard or Tyrell Dotson, Balin Spector. But
there's a lot of names that are getting mixed up in the hat to pull. For battling going into training camp.
It's just like they say, when you have a quarterback competition, you don't have a quarterback. If you have 3 or 4 linebackers that could fill in, they're not strong enough to be a guaranteed 1 and 2 right there, you know? So that's usually the mindset with that. I don't necessarily agree with it. I do think Dotson has the most experience, but he also was a special teamer, just like the rest of them. Terrell Bernard was strong, but then had gotten hurt or was depth anyway. He was buried behind the starters, didn't get much playing time.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of him. And
No.
so I think that's what, for Bills Mafia that are really getting excited to follow the storylines that are going to be coming out of St. John Fisher training camp. I think that's one of the bigger ones. Running backs kind of settled. Like maybe we'll hear those reports of like Damian Harris is really looking good, and he may take over for James Cook, you know, as being that kind of 3-down back to begin with.
He will be the red zone back.
Right?
I
But
think
we
he's
kinda
going to
know
take
it's
away
settled.
touchdowns and fantasy points from Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that as long as he's safe and he gets his 4,000 to 5,000 yards.
Yeah, so we know the
and light
running
it
back
up.
room's kind of settled. Like, yeah, we might see maybe some really good reports coming out about Murray and
5 or
and
6
Harris.
weeks in. Oh, well, we haven't gotten to the free agency
No, I
yet,
know.
but
I'm-
Latavius Murray was,
Yeah, and then I'm just saying, and then we know that the QB competition's set.
they were
and-
ranked the 4th best quarterback room in the NFL. So it's Josh Allen and then his best buddy Kyle Allen and then Matt Barkley, who's been, you know, basically in the back seat for a while, and he's a great guy. So
I think
good to
yeah,
have him back.
three position groups that I think are maybe most interested to Bills Mafia leading into training camp to follow is cornerback, who's going to win between Kyer Elam
Yep.
and not Dane Jackson.
So there's Kyler Elo. Yeah, no, Dane Jackson is one of them.
He's in the running. And
Bernard.
Bernard.
Bernard's a linebacker.
Jesus Christ,
so you're
yeah.
thinking
Christian Benford.
Christian
Good Lord,
Benford.
Man, we're struggling right now. Christian Benford and Elam, I think that's going to be a big competition to watch. It's going to be huge to. I think people are going to be interested in the wide receiver battle, just seeing how.
because we don't have a true slot right now. And then with Hardy, you know, he's going to be a special teamer, but then we also have Hines back there. So it's like one's going to be kick return, one's going to be punt return. Then wait, we got Trent Sherfield. He could do it too. And so it's a bunch of. And then now they're also saying, oh, Kincaid's going to play in the slot. He's a big slot guy, but he could do it. If you run routes and you're running within the yardage that you're supposed to be and you can fill that pocket, do it.
Yeah. So yeah, and linebacker I think will be the other big one that people are excited about.
And when you're talking about wide receiver, we did get one in the 5th round. When Bean lost his 4th rounder to move up to get Kincaid, we did have a couple 4th rounders we gave up. We ended up getting Justin Shorter out of Florida, who was also a teammate of Torrance.
Yep.
But he might not even make the team because we are so like. I'm not going to say we're strong, but we're deep at receiver. We have a lot of like middling receivers.
You know, that's one of the picks where I felt that they really wanted him, and they after having him come in and visit.
That's right. He was
Buffalo.
in a top 30.
And I don't know. I personally, it was over my head. I was not on my radar. I know that maybe there was other people that were talking about it before the draft that maybe look out for Shorter in the later rounds. I didn't, I didn't see it coming, but come to find out, they really were interested in him and they did their research. So I think he's going to make the team. I do. I think they're going to put him on special teams. I think that again, he might shine in training camp. Get him in some red zone situations. He's a big body, kind of a DK Metcalf type.
Yeah.
That's a huge, comparison. But he's, I think that Bean saw a high ceiling there, and I think that
we needed a taller guy.
yeah, I think that even though he was a later round pick, I think that I would be surprised if he didn't make the team of one of the 7 wide receivers.
If they go with 7,
With
because
7.
they still have Knox, Kincaid, Quentin Morris, and then they have the slasher Reggie Gilliam, who's going to be in the running back room, but he can do all those other things. So depends, because McDermott and Bean like guys that can play multiple positions. We know Torrance is going to be a guard. Anyway, so the later round guys are, I think, the one that they got in the 7th round for Mississippi, offensive guard. He's probably one of those guys that's like a late round flyer where you're hoping maybe he makes it to the practice squad and fill in if needed. They say draft, develop, re-sign. Obviously, we lost Edmonds, and we ended up re-signing Ed Oliver for about the same money. So
that was a shocker.
You were pissed off. You were very upset about that.
I was. I was.
And then I had to tell
overreacted.
you,
I got emotional about it.
Don't underestimate
Yeah.
what Ed Oliver did for the run game, and he's not going to make the splash plays. And I know he's compared to Aaron Donald, but nobody's Aaron Donald. Nobody is a defensive tackle with a 6-pack other than him in the league, really, at his size. Ed Oliver is undersized, but he makes he's athletic. I watched him at Houston play against my alma mater at UCF, and I think he's pretty good.
It wasn't necessarily the comparison to Aaron Donald. That's not it. I didn't think he was going to be an Aaron Donald or close to it. I know that.
What did he have? 6.5 sacks?
2.5 or 3. Yeah, he's got 14 since being drafted.
But you remember Stanley Cup.
That's why I was upset because I was really focused on sacks, and I did overreact, and a lot of people overreacted. Some people were fine with it, and I think some people had that calm, collected reaction to it where they were like, "Wait, in time, this will look like a deal."
Well,
once they started breaking
you
it down
have
to
to
other
think
DTs.
You're signing for the future, and then the cap goes up every year. So when they calculated based on defensive tackles right now and who are prorated over the next 4 or 5 years, he's like number 17. He's making, what is it, $17 million a year, and he's number 17 at defensive tackle. There's 32 teams. Not everyone has a stud defensive tackle. Yeah. When we had Star Lotulelei, right, he filled in the defense. When he got injured, our defensive run game sucked. When last year Daquan Jones got hurt, our defense in the middle sucked. So you need someone to anchor in the middle. And then you expect your linebackers, they're the ones that make the linebackers who they are. They really do. I played linebacker, and if it weren't for my lineman in high school being 275 pounds, I probably wouldn't have done what I did. I was a pretty good tackler. But you need to rely on those big guys, those hogs, to fill those gaps.
Yeah. I didn't give him enough credit for some of the unheralded, less flashy things that he does on a consistent basis. I think, though, him being injured has something to do with it, too. He was injured last season. I think it was more of an issue than it was let out to be, to the general public. But so he's going in healthy. I'm going to keep a close eye on him this year and see, now that he's getting paid this money, I do want to pay way closer attention to him on a snap by snap basis to see truly what he's doing on the inside and not just looking for sacks. Because yes, I think I was blinded by that sack number of him having 14 in his career, and I think a lot of people that were hating on it, that's what they pointed to.
He got hyped
low-hanging
up.
fruit.
Yeah,
but yes, there are other statistics that show that he has a bigger impact than just not getting sacked. So,
and apparently the Bills thought that they could lose Edmonds for how much he made. He's making $18 million a year, I think. They could replace him or fill it in to where it's decent and focus more on that front line because they were going to get killed. I don't know why I was trying to avoid dancing around free agency, talking about the draft when they're interchangeable, because some of the free agents we got before the draft, so it helped them clarify who they needed the draft, and then we had some fill-in. So we already knew about Damian Harris being a running back that we got. Latavius Murray was a nice pickup. Hardy and Sherfield, we already knew about that. Then we got defensive tackle Poona Ford from Seattle. Big hog. He's another guy that I was thinking, okay, maybe they won't do Oliver, but they got both.
Yeah.
Knowing that Daquan Jones got hurt, or Daquan Jones, however you want to say it, he's more depth, and I think they've got a lot of those like average to slightly above average rather than elite, and that might be all we need, because with McDermott making the calls, it could be more about scheme than it is about overall talent.
Yeah, Daquan Jones, Poona Ford, and now extending Oliver. I almost wish Oliver would have had a chance to play on a contract year, just because I think that lighting that fire under him after he's heard the criticism.
Now he has to prove it.
And he's gone through that injury. But it looks like despite now getting a lot of money, he is still very much motivated to prove the doubters wrong. So I think our middle is very set up. And if we can have that healthy Rousseau, speaking of contract year, Rousseau is looking for those he was so close to that double-digit sack season last year. Even though he'll say to the media that he's not paying attention to like individual stats, he wants to get double digits. Yeah. Because if he does, then he knows that we're doing something right, and he also knows that if he is getting double-digit sacks, it probably means that Von Miller on the other side is staying healthy. So if we have that healthy, yes, we'll get to that. But you have that healthy Rousseau and Oliver, and then you've got that inside with those big guys, and even add in Tim Settle. We kept Tim Settle, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So he's like further depth behind those other big three. But anyways, it's looking promising.
Since we're getting into the free agency stuff, we did sign defensive end Leonard Floyd. So they had moved money around and signed Floyd, and I'm thinking, oh crap, okay. So and they also got Shane Ray. So they've got these guys that, I feel like their defense, their team in general, is better. They focus on the offense in the draft, right? They got a tight end, a guard, wide receiver, a guard, and then they have Dorian Williams on defense, and then a late round cornerback, Alex Austin from Oregon State University, who I think is nice, but we are pretty deep. We saw the roster, the 90-man roster. a third of the names you'd never heard of, right? Because
and we not only drafted a cornerback with our last pick in the draft, but then we picked up cornerback Cameron Dantzler from the Vikings.
yeah, that's
So
a
it
good
is
pickup.
deep. It's a deep cornerback room.
It is, and they can't all make the team. There will be some surprise cuts. Oh, and Taylor Rapp. We did mention him before, but with re-signing Poyer, we now have Rapp, Poyer, and Hyde. And if we lose one of the two veterans, I think Rapp is right there.
Yeah.
And they might even play three safeties on some plays. Hell, if we're playing against someone like Hopkins, we can't, we won't have another Hal Murray, hopefully.
I don't know how Bean's going to handle the safety situation after this year because you've got Poyer extended another year after this year.
They wanted them
Hoyt
to
isn't
retire
extended.
together. Yeah. So they'll probably extend him 1 year, Hyde, as long as his neck is fine.
Yeah.
And then they'll retire together.
Yeah, that'd be
Off into the
awesome
sunset.
if
Yeah.
it works that way.
I mean, that's what Poyer said. He wants to retire Bill. And Hyde, why wouldn't he say the same? They both had their chances in Cleveland and with the Packers, and they didn't blossom until they got under McDermott's defense. And now that he's making the play calls, and I feel like the safeties are the quarterback of the defense, really. I mean, you say linebacker because they make the call. No, they're just relaying it, and the safeties are truly the ones that save your ass. And when Damar Hamlin got roasted a couple times, and then, he was a hard hitter, but with being aggressive, it's like you make mistakes at 100%, you're still making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And he's healthy. Hell, so there's four safeties right there, and I actually think he's going to do fine. I really do. So we've got, again, great depth. We're still on the draft talk and the free agency talk.
Real quick,
Yeah.
one more quick note I want to touch on for the free agency. I had no idea who Shane Ray was. And then all of a sudden, the Shane Ray pops up, and he gets drafted by the Broncos in the first round. He gets a Super Bowl with Von Miller.
Yep.
Yeah, he had a great rookie season, and then he dealt with injuries. He goes to the Ravens. He deals with an injury with the Ravens. Goes to the Canadian Football League, plays in the Canadian. So he's had a tough road, and it's not been pretty. After being drafted first overall, you got a lot of pressure on you, and he's documented things of kind of just his struggle behind the scenes. And so now it's like he's kind of this like Cinderella feel good potential story going into training camp, and it does suck because now with that Leonard Floyd signing, it's gonna be really hard for him to find a way because, and I don't him finding a way on the roster of the 53 is gonna mean injuries. I think, and I don't want to think about that.
That brings me up to a point. Bean every year seems to, before they make final cuts, make trades for late round draft picks. They did it several times. A couple of them he regrets, I'm sure, but they could get rid of Boogie Basham for a late rounder. They could end up having a cornerback room that's like so crowded and somebody else needs one because of an injury, and they get a mid round. He will do something. Our offensive line now, that's pretty crowded.
Yeah,
you can't have too many players like that are good without getting something back from them.
Yeah, I want to say I hope Shane Ray balls out and then he makes Bean have to make a really tough decision.
Yeah.
It's either, and then I hope he makes a team, but if not, I hope he gets a chance to start with another team because that'd be an awesome comeback story.
Yeah.
Because he's running out of time and he really wants it. So,
okay, so that was draft and free agency. Now we're going to get into the Madden cover. Woo! Madden 2024 cover reveal. I had a good feeling that last year would have been Josh Allen, but with Madden dying, they needed to honor him and have him on the cover. So they pushed it to this year, and they presented Allen with the idea. He obviously has to approve it and sign off. And when they gave him the stats, he was the most used player in the game. So all of you Miami Dolphin fans who are haters, or Chiefs fans, or Bengals fans that are pissed off that Mahomes isn't on it for a third
Eagles
time.
Fans, they wanted Hurts,
true.
Which he
and
was
you know
deserving
what?
of it.
When they asked Josh Allen who they felt should have been on the cover if it wasn't him, his first answer was Jalen Hurts, and I think that's a good answer. Anyway, his numbers: 168.7 million passing touchdowns, 12.9 million rushing touchdowns, 19.5 billion passing yards, and 1 billion rushing yards.
And for those that aren't familiar with the Madden game, we're talking about online play, so you can play strangers from all over the country, and you get matched up with similar leveled players on online mode. And that's where they got a lot of these statistics, because you get to choose the team you want to play, you go against another team.
Yep.
And so these are all statistics that they gathered through playing online games on Madden, for people using the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen as quarterback.
So they always go a year in advance when it talks to the numbers. So Madden 24 is for the 2023 season, the 2024 Super Bowl. Josh Allen made the cover, first Bills player ever. So that's great. And the last few years have kind of debunked the curse that has always been there between Brady and Mahomes both winning Super Bowls, and then Mahomes winning last year after being on the cover. I feel like we're safe.
Yeah, and if
hopefully
that doesn't work, Allen stress that it's
the double reverse.
Yeah, the double curse reversal.
Curse reverse.
Yeah, the Bills are cursed. They're kind of a cursed sports team in general, and the Madden curse, it's a double curse reversal.
I like it. It was smart. Yeah. The next thing was Bills Mafia is featured on the deluxe edition. So it's the first time ever that fans will be featured on the cover. I think that's really cool. And I can't wait to fire up my Xbox that I haven't used in a couple of years. And instead of seeing Mahomes on there, seeing Josh Allen and, the X Factor and all the stats, and I just can't wait. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I know since we saw Brady and Mahomes on the cover, I think you and I have been talking about like how awesome it'd be, especially with like starting to collect Allen cards and whatnot. We talked about how awesome it'd be to see him on the cover.
Yeah.
And you're right. Last year, unfortunately, there was the passing of John Madden, rest in peace, to a legend. And before his passing, there was a lot of hype about Allen potentially getting on there. When the leaks started to come out, it didn't take long to piece it together that this was probably going to happen.
Yeah. And I knew before it was announced, because you're right, there were leaks, just like I knew the schedule before it was released. Mm-hmm. I made my own that looked like the legit team one. So everyone thought, holy cow, this is the legit one. But no, I had made it in Photoshop. I referenced the previous years, knowing the kind of format they use. There is one more error when it comes to going into Photoshop and making changes or adjusting things, and that would be the face mask of the cover. It's funny because this face mask doesn't even have this extra bar that's on there. It's like floating. It stops halfway across.
This is on the deluxe edition that has the fans on it.
Yeah.
Not the other edition where it's just Allen on there.
Yeah. It's an error that I'm sure they'll fix before.
The face mask bar is like cut off. So it's like getting ready to cross his mouth and then it just stops.
Yeah.
And that is a mistake. It's not a surprise given that Madden has no competition in the market and they haven't for years. And that's to the resentment of many people that are very adamant about having a different kind of competition in the NFL video game market.
I resent that you can't just pay for an upgrade. Like you could new maps on Call of Duty or something.
Yeah, one of the issues that's been complained about for a decade with the Madden franchise is lack of attention to detail. And so it is kind of ironic that you come to find out there is a mistake so I didn't notice it, so my attention to detail clearly was off. But then it popped up on the internet, and then you look, and sure enough, the face mask is messed up. But Madden gets a lot of crap, and it should, because I think it's ridiculous that they don't get challenged by other video games.
There was in the 90s, I had a Sega Game Gear, and I had a Montana football game.
Yeah, there was that. There was the Madden 2K that had Terrell Owens on the cover. That was a huge hit.
But it was still EA Sports, wasn't it?
But it was not Madden. It was NFL 2K.
Well, you just said
and that
Madden,
was where.
So.
Yeah, there was that. There was the Madden 2K.
Madden 2K.
That was where they had ESPN prime time in the highlights. So it was like you were watching SportsCenter almost after you play a game with the highlights and everything. It was super cool. Really well done game. And so, Madden, rightly so, gets a lot of criticism for some of the gameplay issues, some of the lack of changes over the years. But let's real quick talk about the positives of the game, because it's held a special place in my heart since I first began playing video games as a kid. Yeah. And I'm sure you're the same. Tell me about kind of one of your earliest, fondest memories of Madden.
Okay, well, first before that was Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl. That was before Madden existed. But my first, this isn't even my first, but my best, college, Canisius College, freshman year, my high school best friend becomes my roommate in college. We're on Frisch, 6th floor. We have a freaking projector and a PlayStation. So we would have, and we lived in a suite on the 6th floor. So it was like common room, whatever, 2-bed bedroom, and the bunks in the other room too. And people would come over and we would have competitions, whether it was somebody from my football team, somebody down the hall from the hockey team, or just somebody in general. And the projector against the wall, what we did was we had this foam, this insulation foam that you would normally use like under the siding on a house, like Tyvek type stuff. And we blocked off the window so there was no light coming in so you could play during the day.
That's
then
beautiful.
we put up a giant bed sheet, and that was what we played. And so the 1, 2, 3, I think the Seahawks were good back then too. Like Sean Alexander.
Yeah, I believe Alexander was on the cover of 04. I think it was.
Yeah. That's right, because that was Josh Allen.
Falk was on the Marshall Falk was on the cover of 03.
Yep. So it was 02, 01, and 02.
Vic was on 04.
So anyway, you asked me my experience and playing against people there, because I'm literally studying my linebacker book, which in high school was like, okay, drop back or go make a tackle. And in college, it's like, here's a playbook. Every week it's going to be slightly different. As the Mike linebacker, you're going to do this and do this and do this. You got to make this play call. I'm like, what? So I was deep into that book and then using it in the game. So I'm like, oh, umbrella, cover 3, cover 2, Tampa, whatever. And then you learn how to play. So I was killing people because I could pick the defense. So I preferred using the defense against people, and you get user picks. Long story short,
You weren't cheating like me and just putting coach's suggestion, like the coaches. You hit the
No,
coach's
no, the
suggestion
coach-
that just calls the play.
that's usually good, but the problem is the defense can also do that. So then it's like a predictable versus predictable, and you got to switch it up. So you tend to have tendencies, and it drives me crazy when I'm playing you. And then, like, I'll blow you up, but after 3 or 4 times, I get complacent and ignore it, and then you go back to the same damn predictable play, and you throw an 80-yard touchdown. I'm just like, so, you know, it's some of it's like chess. It's like reverse psychology. It's like Brian Dable was very good at, where for 3 quarters you set up certain plays and then you just let them loose in the 4th quarter. And that's kind of what Madden was, and that's what I enjoyed. And obviously, it helps you learn players from other teams. It really does. If you don't just play for the Buffalo Bills. If you just randomize it or start playing with other teams or even shitty teams, you learn how to overcome some of that. And like you said, when you're playing against somebody at your same level, that's one thing Madden has done better on is online and doing that. I don't play online as much as you do. I haven't in a couple of years. I mostly played you. But what's one of your early memories from Madden?
Yeah, I remember the early Madden games on Super Nintendo, even the original Nintendo, but I didn't get super into it. My best kind of first like vivid memory of just being really excited about Madden was in 1999, Christmas in 99 in Bismarck, North Dakota at my grandma's house, and woke up that morning and the present from Santa was, and it wasn't even wrapped, like it was just under the tree, which was fine. I was like,
who cares?
I didn't even have to unwrap it. It's just like I woke up and I walked out of the room and looked under the tree, and there's an N64 Jungle Green edition sitting under the tree, and next to it is Madden 99. And so I was unboxed it, got the game in, and I will always love Pat Summerall and Madden together.
Oh, yeah.
Those were the announcers on the game. Those were the announcers in real life. And, oh, man, I don't know. There's something about those two combinations, especially Pat Summerall's voice is just calming to me. But, yeah, having Pat Summerall and Madden together on the game and just playing as the Bills with Doug Flutie.
They could do that again
awesome.
with AI and how far that's come. They could recreate Madden's voice where you don't have to have coach and I don't
Have
remember.
an announcer?
Yeah.
Ah, man.
Forget it.
Yeah,
Forget it. Skip
sorry.
it. No, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm having trouble remembering names. Usually I'm good at it, but
Anyway, the Madden voices, the names are good either way. Obviously, the older ones are nostalgic, but for the newer guys, all you know are the names that are out there now. And, they may switch it up again. Maybe it'll eventually be Tony Romo and people hate it. Who knows? Who knows? But whether it be PlayStation or Xbox, you can have that debate. But the game itself, it's still a sweet game. They have added like certain power moves and jukes and jumps and dives and the things that, when people are arguing that Allen shouldn't be on the cover, I'm like, he is literally the epitome of a video game player. As a quarterback, you want someone with power, speed, arm. Like he's a 99 arm strength, right? 95 for accuracy on the run.
yeah.
He's, of course, fumble prone and injury prone. But so like Lamar Jackson was like a cheat code in the game, but then he fumbles at the one.
Yeah. I can understand Eagles fans being upset. Like, yeah, Hurts got to the Super Bowl. He outdueled Mahomes for much of that Super Bowl. I can understand Bengals fans even being upset because Burrow has owned the Bills the last few seasons. F off to you Chiefs fans that are upset. Like, Mahomes was on the cover individually. He was on the cover with Brady. What the more do y'all want? You guys got a couple Super Bowls, 2 in the last 3 years. Give Allen his time to shine. Like, you said it, that you called out someone on the internet that it's like, how much do you have Allen living in your heads rent-free as Chiefs fans?
Yeah.
It's like, we get it. Mahomes is the better quarterback right now, but I think the gap is closer than many Chiefs fans want to admit, and I think because of that, they got to point to turnovers. Well, Allen had barely that many more than Mahomes last year.
Sure.
Allen did have a lot more fumbles. I have to say that. But Allen's beat the
More
Chiefs
touchdowns, more
in
rushing
epic
yards.
fashion in regular season the last 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Yes, he hasn't done it in the playoffs.
Yeah,
we can say that.
That's
It's just,
our
I don't know.
rafter.
But yeah, they're just, I don't know. Chiefs fans, you're insufferable. I don't like y'all right now, man. I need to like meet a good Chiefs fan. Cause
I think the Chiefs are
I'm
likable.
very
The
sour
fans are
to
not.
that fan base now.
Yeah, no,
And
I get it.
I used to love the Chiefs, and I love Andy Reid, but man, but now you're starting, and maybe some people will be like, well, Bills fans are spoiled now, and they've been this like talk of the town for like 4 years in a row, and they haven't gone to the Super Bowl, but whatever. But I don't know, man. Now Chiefs fans are just driving me crazy.
The AFC is loaded, and now that we haven't even mentioned this, but Aaron Rodgers is a Jet, so we have to face them week 1, and all the hype is playing in New York, 9/11, all that kind of stuff that weekend, and it's in prime time, and I'm like, man, that's a lot of pressure. But we'll get into the schedule. We covered the draft, we covered free agency, we covered the Madden cover, and we're still talking about Allen here. Obviously, he had a breakup that we're well aware of. It was rumored for a while. It happened. Neither one of them addressed it, neither Josh Allen or Brittany Williams, but they both took the higher road and have moved on. And then Josh Allen is spotted in New York City, presumably dating Haley Steinfeld, who is best known for her vocals from Pitch Perfect, and I know her from Sesame Street because I've got a kid who's almost 2, and he loves watching that, and she sings in it, and I'm like, damn, out of all those singers that they bring onto the show, she is smoking. I think he has pretty similar taste, but she's definitely more...
He's got a type.
More natural, more wholesome, less fake bake.
In my
I don't
opinion,
know.
but not, this is like tabloid talk, but
Of course it
we're
is.
touching
Yes,
on it.
we're not TMZ. We're none of that.
And also,
but good for him.
Yeah, the whole breakup with Allen and Brittany Williams, none of anyone's business. It becomes people's business because, of course,
He's
the
a
media
public
reports
figure
on it.
and
It's
yeah,
off
yeah.
season.
Yeah.
There's people that are just hungry for stories. So we're kind of taking the low hanging fruit there and talking about it. But
it was brief. We're not going to get into the drama. The point was they were spotted. Haley Steinfeld and Josh Allen were spotted in New York City, and it was more than once. And it seems that they would make a good couple. I hope.
Allen's living the QB1 life, and as he should, man. He's living it up. He's got a huge contract now. He's got $15 million in the bank account with many more millions coming.
You say $15 million?
I think his net worth is like $14-15 million right now.
Are you kidding me?
No.
He's on year 6.
I know.
His rookie deal, sure. Maybe he didn't make it
I
time.
don't think
Endorsements
the big
and now
stuff-
the Madden cover?
That was just what I saw on the internet.
He signed for $253 million.
All that
$150
hasn't
million
kicked in yet.
guaranteed. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But you still get signing
So
bonuses.
does the $150 million guaranteed get put in his account immediately?
That's
If
guaranteed.
That's so, then that's a different
He
story.
bought a house that you could get lost in. He bought land and had it built in Orchard Park, and he still has houses elsewhere.
So he's got a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
He's enjoying the golfing in the off season as he's kind of recuperating mentally. He's enjoying time clearly with the dating life. He's going out on the town. He's getting his cover, the cover of Madden. He's living his best life right now, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, good for him. Now that we're talking about Josh Allen and like golfing and whatnot, there was some drama with mandatory minicamp. Stefon Diggs showed up, got checked out, passed his physical, went to a couple meetings, and then was excused. But McDermott flubbed and never mentioned that he was excused and just said that he wasn't there. Diggs' agent stepped up and said, "My client's in town and he intends to be at camp." And the next day, after 24 hours of drama, McDermott clarified, he backpedaled and said, I let him go home. I thought it was best that we separate after we had meetings and there was a little tension, whatever. McDermott usually will ignore those sort of things and say, well, let's keep that in-house. But he put his foot in his mouth there when he said he was very concerned, which makes it seem like he's not here and I don't know where he is, when he knew exactly where he was. And there were rumors that it could have been he doesn't like Ken Dorsey. It could be that he's upset with Josh Allen golfing too much or dating Haley or making the cover and he's jealous. It could be so many things still stemming from last season, because after the loss against the Bengals, he grabbed his stuff out of his locker room and checked out and hasn't seen the media since. So we're talking from late January? It didn't blow over 5 months later. Yeah. What happened was, it was never addressed in the offseason like it should have been with a good head coach who should have brought him in, talked through this before it looked like he was just a prima donna and having little tantrums. Because for all I know, maybe Stefon Diggs just wanted to be heard and said, look, first 10 games, I was killing it, had 8 touchdowns. The last 6 games, I only had the one touchdown, 300 yards. So when you go from having 100 yards a game to 50, something's wrong. And when you're the superstar, you're a captain, you're the guy that you rely on as wide receiver 1, you want the ball. And it wasn't necessarily Allen's fault. He's going with what the play call is. He's going with what's open and if they're double teaming and all that. Obviously, Dorsey needs to get more creative. I don't think he's necessarily on the hot seat, but clearly people are watching to see what he does, and that includes Diggs, who is locked under contract. It wasn't like he could hold out. He's got the money. It wasn't a money issue. Tim Graham had mentioned that it wasn't anything about Ken Dorsey, and that he's pretty confident about that based on his source. Okay, so what is it?
I think the biggest thing that I could take from that 24-hour media frenzy that took place after McDermott said those key words of "I am concerned," weird. I think that's still the word that sticks with me, and that's the word I think that sticks with a lot of people. It was weird, and it started with McDermott not saying the right things. I think he would have taken that one back in a heartbeat. He will never admit it. Yeah. I think he would have liked to have worded things better there when he was trying to button things up with that initial interview. Because then Allen came in, and it was kind of like good cop, bad cop. You had McDermott who said, he's not here, and I'm very concerned. And then you had Allen coming in who's saying, I fucking love this dude. Like, I've got his back. Things are fine. We're working some things out. It's non-football, which was very bizarre because, I mean, we're talking about this guy not being here for training camp. How is this non-football related? Yeah. We haven't heard anything. We heard there was a situation with Stefon Diggs' brother that happened, but there was no, like, reports coming out that, yeah, he's going to resolve some personal issues. So it's just like McDermott didn't do a good job of collateral of damage control. Yeah. He did.
It was one of his rare mishaps because he's normally good in the media. Like I said, he keeps it tight-lipped. The Bills are in general very good about not letting things leak. Obviously,
I mean, when it comes to like a crunch time pressure-packed situation, like say 13 seconds, he knows how to handle that.
Yeah, that was a learning. Yeah, that was bad.
Well, okay, good. But yeah, fast forward back to the question of what did I think about it, or what would you say about it? Weird. It was weird, and it still is weird. And I think that Diggs screaming out of the locker room and barely wanting to hang around for McDermott's kind of final speech after the Bengals crushing, and then not responding to media in the exit interviews, he just bailed. Yeah. Then I think as McDermott being a leader of the entire team, that should have been something that was handled and addressed, even if it was going to be tough to like get it handled during the offseason. Yeah. Clearly, like you said, he seems to sweep things under the rug sometimes. That was one he wishes he had back too, because letting that fester all offseason and letting everyone go their separate ways. I think honestly, even just being like, hey, at the end of the season when Diggs bailed, being like, hey, I know you're probably not wanting to come back to Buffalo right now. You want to enjoy your offseason. Yeah. Hey, we want to talk a few things over. Come over. Come. Let's all get in a room. Maybe you, me, Allen, even Dorsey, whoever. Let's have a quick talk and just kind of hash some things out.
And the powwow shouldn't happen during organized team activities or.
So it does. It sucks how things happen, and you just clearly there was still some big time issues with that Diggs had, and it didn't get resolved, and so he comes back after this absence. And then just the way that McDermott handled it, man, it turned it into a complete storm of speculation. Yep.
And next we'll talk about the rest of OTAs, mandatory minicamp, and then getting to some of the training camp schedule, what to look forward to, and the schedule. We'll do predictions and stuff. But right now we're going to take a break. We're going to finish up here with talking about Von Miller, how he's at mandatory minicamp, but he's not necessarily practicing. He says he's at 100%, but that's Von Miller. He still would need to go through protocol and make sure that he's healthy, but I feel like, will he be ready for week 1? I want him to, but when they signed Floyd, if anything, that gave him more time, because if you rush him back and then we don't have him later in the season, we're screwed with that as far as how much money we've invested in this guy. So
I think he debuts week 6 Sunday Night Football against the Giants.
Yeah, he'll start the season on PUP. He won't take a roster spot. He'll do the same thing, but we had to do with Trey White. And Trey White, who came back on Thanksgiving a year after his injury the prior year, which is when Von Miller got hurt.
Yeah,
He'll be back before them.
Von Miller did say that he needs to like get early reps to get going in the season, and that's why his argument about getting put on the.
Of course, he wants to. Yeah, no, I get it. And there's still a chance that they have to burn a roster spot for 3 weeks, and then he's in there week 4. According to the thigh doctor on Twitter, he said that he still looks like he's going to be week 6. Mm-hmm. You know, he's just slightly weaker there in that knee.
I think as Bills fans expect week 6 or week 5, and worst case or best case scenario, you're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
As opposed to like being gung ho that he's going to be there week 1 for the opener at New York and doesn't end up being the case.
But he's still going to be in the room. He's still going to be a veteran as a captain. He's there, you know, always being positive, just like with the Stefon Diggs stuff. He's like, I got his back, just like Allen. You know, he's always Mr. Positive, and you love that about him. He's not jaded at this point in his career.
Seems like a very awesome person.
He really does, yeah. And I think he's gonna have a great career after the NFL too.
Yes, he is.
He'll be doing camps and maybe even get into general management. He's following around Bean. He was there for the draft. That's very cool for him. Can you imagine if one day he became a replacement for Brandon Bean?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think Bean's around for another 15, 20 years, hopefully.
15? Holy shit.
He's young. He's young.
Oh, I thought you meant with the Bills.
Look at what Pittsburgh does.
Yeah.
They had, what, 3 head coaches in 40 years or something? You can do that with general managers. They had, what was it, Donahue? Or Donahoe?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be wild.
It would.
You don't see that.
No, you don't. There was really only one injury, and it wasn't significant during mandatory minicamp, and that was Dawson Knox. And I think he just, ran into Benford, was it? And hurt his calf or...
Kyer Elam came in on a play, and he was being, aggressive, because Kyer Elam's got a lot to prove, so he's going to be, it's only OTAs, but I think he kind of came in hot. He ran into, I believe, Dawson Knox at the back of Dawson Knox's leg, and led to a minor injury.
Yeah, minor injury. He's going to be fine by next week, and, I mean, we've got 5 weeks until training camp, so... Yeah. Not to be concerned about. But Trey White is looking like his old self, and I'm all for it. I'm glad to see that he's confident, healthy, and ready to go. And I like his, goofy personality. You remember when he picked up the papers and acted like he was reading over
against the Ravens?
The ref stuff. So training camp. They announced the dates. There's going to be 10 open practices, and all but one are scheduled at 9:45 a.m. Eastern. And the one exception I want to say was August 6th, which is a Sunday. It's at 11:45 a.m. July 26th to August 7th, right? And that's going to be, there's 9th and 10th, but the 7th is closed. So one of the Monday practices, for the most part, it's open, and it's really cool. And I've been there before when they practice at Orchard Park, when they do offense versus defense and stuff, first team. It's cool to see that, and you get to see the owners and the coaches. That's when I met Terry and Kim Pagula. I mean, they were right in front of me. It's not like I had a conversation with them, and shook hands, and some people next to me were getting signings and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But
Josh Allen can't wait for Turkey Burger Tuesday at training camp. He's all about them turkey burgers.
Yeah, hey, whatever. I mean, there's always the garbage plate, but nope, it's the turkey burgers.
Yeah, you gotta love Allen's mentality. He loves, he's like a kid when it comes to training camp. He loves I think he truly enjoys staying in some, and it could change.
That's the only reason why they're not back at Orchard Park.
Yeah. But as of now, even though he's now a seasoned vet at this point, he still loves doing it and getting to know the players and playing video games and hanging out. And I think that's awesome. That you don't have you can still be have that childlike enthusiasm and the simple things like that in life that you don't always get to enjoy. And so. And then, cafeteria food, that's probably pretty mundane.
Pretty damn good for them.
But
got chefs
I heard
and stuff.
There were some media that tried it after Allen was boasting about the turkey burgers last offseason, training camp. And so then there were some media members that tried it, and they're like, it's a turkey burger.
Yeah.
But to Allen, he's fucking excited about it. It's just that, and that's because he's excited about it's more than just the turkey burger.
It is. They're playing Madden, and they're hanging out, and they're playing other sports, and they're talking girls or whatever, life. And I feel like those bonding moments...
Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Holy cow.
Steinfeld.
I wonder, what if, let's try. On a positive note, the Buffalo Bandits lacrosse team won the national championship.
All right. Way to go, Bandits.
For a sport that was invented in Canada, actually by Native Americans. But hockey was Canada, but I believe lacrosse is as well. That's a heck of an accomplishment. They brought Buffalo their only national championships.
It was, I think, the first
other
one.
than AFL for the Bills. Sorry.
It's like I've known that Buffalo had a professional lacrosse team. I've paid no attention to it being
Their head coach is a former player that played when I was security there, when it was HSBC Arena. Mm-hmm. They were no joke. They won then, too. They were very good. Tavares, I believe, is his name. He retired and became a hell of a head coach, obviously.
Yeah, like I've been a Bills fan since I was about 7. The Sabres, I've gotten into the Sabres over the last 6 years.
You
very
have,
seriously.
for sure. Yeah.
And I was like, so now I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm like, well, I mean, I've always embraced the Bills. I've always embraced the city of Buffalo. Why am I not cheering? Like, why am I not really following the Sabres?
Why not?
I really
Especially
like
if you're
hockey,
going there,
so
you
now,
could.
And then, but yeah, now it's like the lacrosse thing. I still haven't fully been dived into because I'm like, I didn't. It's like I knew that they had a lacrosse.
You're not going to
team,
see coverage
but
a lot on that.
But then, yeah, and then you watch lacrosse, and it's like it is weird because it's like
Lacrosse is picking up at the high school level like crazy, nationwide.
It's just different because it's like hockey, but you're not watching hockey.
It's
and the goalies in lacrosse, they've got they got a ton of. It kind of looks goofy with how much padding they have, and they kind of look blocky.
It's a hybrid of sports. It's a combination of hockey and field hockey and football even, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm not talking it down by any means. I respect the sport. Yeah. I just haven't. It's funny because I was just down in Houston for my niece's graduation, and we were all as a family hanging out, and we were in the game room playing pool, and then we were watching some sports, watching the finals, the NBA finals, and then all of a sudden we're playing pool, and my brother-in-law puts on the TV, and it's the Bandits playing. And,
really?
And that was during that was game 1 against Colorado, and then we're sitting there watching it in the game room, and we're like, and my brother-in-law's like, why are we watching lacrosse right now? But then it was like, it's Buffalo, and that's awesome, and like they got the Bandits logo, and it's pretty cool.
Their colors
you see it, the place is packed.
Yeah.
And that's like my brother-in-law's like, oh my god, like it's this lacrosse game in Buffalo, it's a ton of people there, and they even
they take it seriously.
Yeah, and then that made
they're owned by the Pagulas. So
really?
they own the Pagulas own the Bandits and the Sabres and the Bills. Yeah. So they own Buffalo sports.
I think that was the kind of like the first time where I was like, yeah, no, they like people really like are crazy about this, and seeing the stadium packed, you're like, damn.
Yeah. Watching those games live, it's incredible. The craziest part is that they'll actually play music during the games while it's playing, and they'll blast music. Like. You get the air horn on a score, like the train or siren. Here, it's loud. So if you have young kids, they need earmuffs.
Yeah, I wonder what's more exhausting. Is being on skates more exhausting, or running around like that in lacrosse?
Hockey players make it look so easy. Now, obviously, some of them could probably be figure skaters based on their coordination and athleticism. But it is no joke. Think about that. Every minute and a half to 2 minutes, they're swapping in and out. Yeah, they have 3, 4, 5 lines going. And
it's more. I know how exhausting hockey is. It's more my lack of knowledge about like lacrosse. So I was just curious.
No, lacrosse. I mean, I've messed around with it. We had. I
played it in gym.
Yeah.
In high school,
the balls are pretty hard. But speaking of hockey, we had former Sabres players playing on both sides during the Stanley Cup. And that was Sam Reinhart and Brendan Montour for the Florida Panthers. And then it was Jack Eichel for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Mm-hmm. What's funny is you have 2 fair weather teams playing a hockey game that's played on frozen ice, but it's indoors. So really, and these players are from all around the world. A lot of them aren't even American. So the whole geographical thing, it's funny, but it's kind of a side note,
Yeah.
But good for the Golden Knights winning their national championship. What? Year 4?
Yeah,
I think year
3,
6.
4? Year 6.
6? It's been 6 years?
Yes, the owner said in their inaugural kind of press conference, he said, I want to make the playoffs in 2 years or something like that, and get the Stanley Cup in 6. Or like make the playoffs by 3 years and win the Stanley Cup.
Hell, they were in the playoffs in year 1.
In the Stanley Cup in year 1.
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy. So, and lost that first season. But good for Jack Eichel. He ultimately, there was a lot of money involved, and the Sabres clearly didn't trust this new state-of-the-art technique that they used for the disc replacement.
Yeah, on his neck.
Eichel bet on himself, and it paid off. And, and the Knights were willing to take on
He got rocked. And hey, no one talked about his neck. They were talking about maybe a concussion.
Yeah,
there were memes.
The person that did the surgery got interviewed, and he said that he was like sick to his stomach when it happened. Like, not because he didn't trust what he did, but that like just seeing it and like being like, geez, you know. But it was. But then he's like, yeah, it enforced that
if he could,
it's a good the procedure worked.
For sure, yeah.
Ultimately, hindsight's 2020. They should have just let him get it done. Yeah. But he would have never been as happy in Buffalo. So just get him out of there. We got some good players, and so
we went back to Buffalo and watched the Golden Knights play the Sabres. And Jack Eichel had a hat trick that game. Yep. And that was October, November.
And that was because the time before that he came into town. He didn't play well.
No, and he did
Sabres
not
got him on one. I think they got one game.
Mm-hmm. That's about the loudest I've heard this place ever. Really, after it only took 7 years of me leaving for them to get into the game, but they must just be booing me because they wish I was still here. I don't know.
And then that was like his first time since leaving Buffalo of coming out.
And I get why he would be a little
party of like I'm f***ing here.
He's doing what we wanted him to do in Buffalo, but at the time, we didn't have the right staff. It's not even necessarily the talent around him. The coaching was bad.
Yeah, it was like that first game where post-surgery where he was like, I got one finally on Buffalo.
Yeah, whatever. I'm over it. It's just like I'm over Tom Brady. You know, like we hated him for 19 years, and then he goes to Tampa, and I'm like, wait, do I like Tom Brady now? So for a couple of years, and then it's just like, whatever. He's retired, hopefully forever. We're going to end up seeing him in the booth at some point. We're not going to be able to avoid him, just like Tony Romo.
Yeah, he was
maybe
just able...
Maybe he's insightful, maybe he's not.
Brady was able to, like, give you more of an actual personality when he wasn't... when he didn't have his balls in a jar on Belichick's...
He held his guys accountable. He really was the Michael Jordan of the QB, position in the NFL. He would get in your face. He would not always be your best teammate, but he would hold you accountable. That's what Jordan was. Mm-hmm. I can't believe I made that comparison, but anyway.
Well,
by the way, I watched Air, the new one about...
I did as well.
It was good.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, yeah.
Yeah, my brother and I laughed towards the end of the movie. Ben Affleck, the director, he had to like put in this scene that I thought was just... it was just so unnecessary to the plot of the movie.
Which one?
The scene where he's in his jumpsuit, and he's like doing a jog, and he's all bull-legged, like running all like.
You know why they did that?
Some?
Phil Knight was like that. He would not wear shoes, and he was like athletic, and he ran track at Oregon.
He was just going for a jog down the street, and then he's like walking up the stairs all bull-legged, and then I just looked over at my brother, and we just laughed because it's like Ben Affleck's the director, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking add another scene with me that doesn't necessarily be in there.
That's not even why though. If you knew more about Phil Knight. So he ran track at University of Oregon, which is why their jerseys are so cool in college. They have a great track program. His track coach in college was the co-founder of Nike. He was the one that helped with the insoles and the forming of the cleats and everything. And he was an older guy.
Yeah.
So with Phil Knight being older now, he would help with design and stuff. He never really worked out of the office in Beaverton like Phil. Anyway, I know that because we live nearby. We're in Oregon. At least for another month. This guy's moving to Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah. I'm gonna be a Badger fan. I've been a Badger.
You have been, yeah. But you're not gonna be a Packers fan.
No, but
sorry.
I'm gonna go embrace my upper Midwest roots again. As I grew up in South Dakota, I'm gonna be closer to my parents. Gonna live in the same city as my brother for the first time in a long time.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be brutal getting used to cold winters again with snow. It's gonna be nostalgic too because I'm gonna get brought back to like growing up. My first 21 years of life were living in that kind of climate, but I've been removed from it since 2012, and
I will definitely miss you, man.
I'll miss you too.
We're not gonna be doing these live like this anymore. We'll do more live streams, but this whole like in person thing, unless we're meeting up again or I have somebody else make cameos. I may still sit here myself and do pre-recorded stuff, but he will always be a part of it. He's always
we're probably gonna do more live stuff,
which I'm gearing up for.
So we're still gonna do the podcast.
I've got all the stuff for it now. We've got the microphones. We've got I've got my iMac over here. Is it iMac? That's a Mac Pro. It was the trash can size, and that's the one I use out here just for out here with the Razer card that I have, I could broadcast this. It's just that I'm kind of far away from where my router is, and I have an extender out here, and it's kind of shoddy. So I never really wanted to do that live here, where it would cut in and out. It would have kind of ruined it. And then also, if you're doing it live and you're not recording it correctly, or you have an issue, then you have no show.
So yeah, it's
We'll
we're
do
still
something.
gonna do it. We're still gonna do the previews and the recaps throughout the season. It's just gonna be it's gonna be less work for you as far as editing goes. We're not gonna be doing the in-person thing, which it sucks we're not gonna be doing the in-person thing because that's what makes it unique. There's just so many Bills podcasts, and we're competing with so many other talented individuals, and there's like so much similar, not necessarily similar stuff, but there's just a lot of Bills podcasts, and there's
When
a lot
something's
of information.
breaking, they're all saying the same thing. And I know we end up saying a lot of the similar things, but
Yeah.
we're giving it from the perspective on the West Coast, where we're trying to track things on the East Coast, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever it's at. The Bills website, Yahoo Sports, ESPN. We've got our West Coast perspective. Now you're going to have the Upper Midwest.
Yeah, it's special. It's special to be in the same room like this doing it. So it's been awesome. It was great to do that, and so that It's sad
got a full
that,
year
we're
in.
not going to have. Yeah, it sucks that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But we're still going to do it, and it's going to be less work for you, which I think is good.
It certainly
You
will.
spent a lot of time editing.
Yeah, the episode we wanted to cover the 2023 schedule. We were going to do our predictions, but I think we'll save that for the actual last in-person episode that we do together.
And yeah, and it'll be fun. Like when I do come back to visit, if I come back to visit during the football season in the future, it'll be fun to like do a special edition in person.
We can also film when we go watch a game. We're going to do each year where we watch at least one game together. I want to be able to go to the East Coast, or we never got to do it while we both lived here. Was let's go to Las Vegas, their first year there, but then
Yeah.
COVID happened. Or let's go to LA for the home opener. That didn't happen.
We're never gonna live that one down. That in the last in 7 years of being here, even though we haven't, we've been damn near friends for all the time I've been here.
Yeah.
So like 6 years, not once did we go to an actual Bills game together. We just watched it at the Backer Bar.
I went to a Vikings game. I went to a couple games. I went to the Seattle Monday night game, but never together.
But we're gonna eventually get to one together, but it just hasn't happened.
I hope that this season we can.
We
So,
should have gone to the opener last year, and
LA
that would have been so much
That
fun.
was the closest. Now I got to wait for the Chargers or the Raiders again, or and that doesn't happen.
It's
a lot.
always work too. Like, or like for me, it's always been work. Like, I don't know if I can take the time off, or I've already taken time off for Christmas and all that.
Yeah.
Which sucks because like, man, work is overrated, and like you don't get time.
Bills are overrated. Not the Buffalo Bills.
You don't get time back, and you don't get memories back. So it's like, it's those moments where you make excuses, but you wish you would have like gone. Yeah. So
Well, we'll do an annual trip where we go somewhere, and we'll make things out of this. It was definitely really cool getting to know you in person, and obviously we share a passion for sports, especially the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
But the schedule here, I mean, we've got 5 games that are at 10 a.m. West Coast, 1 p.m. when you're back over on the East Coast. Is it Central or Eastern?
Central.
Okay, so you're going to always be 1 hour. So instead of 1, it's going to be 12 for you.
It's 2 hour difference.
Two hours difference in here. So
From here.
instead of 3. So
So
it's
it's
1 hour.
central.
It'll be noon.
Yeah.
So these 1 o'clock games are noon for you.
I don't do well with time zones.
There's East Coast, Central, Mountain, and West, right?
Pacific, yeah.
Yeah, West, which is Pacific, you're right. So the schedule. We've got 3 preseason games. We're going to play the Colts at home. We're going to play in Pittsburgh. Then we're going to play at Chicago. Then we get into the regular season. Week 1, we're at the Jets. As I mentioned, that is going to be a pretty big one because Aaron Rodgers is playing for them. They're all hyped up. They've got a very good defense, a good team in general. We will probably split with them.
First game of the season is always such a crapshoot because you're feeling each other out. It's like
But I'm glad we're getting them early because he might not
Yeah.
have that chemistry yet.
Yeah. And, it's like the offensive coordinator is going to have one of those plays dialed up. Like last year when Ken Dorsey dialed up the fake run that turned into that wide open.
Because it's not on tape yet.
Gabe Davis touchdown.
Yep. And they'll have something like that.
It's going to be a fun night.
It will. Week 1, we play the Jets. It's in prime time. We don't need to get into it, but I feel like they're going to split whether they win the first one or when they see them in Week 11. Week 2, we play in Buffalo this time against the Raiders. That's just a regular. We go on 3 games in a row at 1 p.m. And then we go to Washington, and then we actually play Miami in Buffalo this
Thank
time,
God.
week 4, so we're not dealing with the crazy heat and the heat index on the field and the sun versus the shade and all that crap. We will actually see them week 18 in Miami, so I'll take that. That'll be like, bring the family to Disney.
That's a great time for
Yeah.
the Bills to host the Dolphins. And the weather will still be pretty good, and it'll be comfortable and not be a scorcher.
Yeah. And then we have Jacksonville. This is the first one for me that I question, because the first 4 they could most likely win. Jacksonville, they could obviously win, but Jacksonville's kind of a sneaky good
And
team.
they're going to be in London
Lawrence,
for a second straight week.
That's true. They are now that's their second home, is in London. So we're going to be playing them. It's 6:30 here, so it's going to be 9:30 East Coast, and that's also going to be. I still consider it's not prime time, but it's still it's a only game played.
On the West Coast, that's a roll out of bed and watch it.
And I've done that last year when they were doing the early morning. I'm like, oh man,
it's like coffee or beer at 6:30 in the morning.
Then yes, we have 3 home games in a row and 4 out of the 5 in a row from week 2 to week 6. We play the Giants, the New York Giants or New Jersey Giants. So we're going to be playing Brian Dable, and we're going to be playing, our assistant GM, who's now the general manager there.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be playing Hodgins, and maybe Saquon Barkley sits out the whole year and we don't see him. Doubt it. He'll probably play.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That'll be a good
that's
one.
a primetime game. So after London, we play primetime, and then we go back to playing at New England,
Yep.
which I think we win, and that's our regular 1 p.m. game. And then we don't have a 1 p.m. game until week 17 against New England again. Because then we go from, let's say we start the season again. Primetime, 1 p.m., 1 p.m., 1 p.m. London, which is the only game playing at that time, 9:30 Eastern. Then it's primetime, week 6 against the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's New England, regular 1 p.m. And then they're playing on Amazon Prime for a Thursday night game against Tampa.
Yeah.
And we should blow the doors off the Bucks without Brady, but who knows? Maybe Kyle Trask can do something. Maybe who else is there? There's another quarterback right now.
Baker Mayfield.
Yes, Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for him, but
I think
third team.
I don't know, just like
Another Rosen?
on the surface, that looks like one of those 34-17 type of games that the Bills crush a team. I don't think there's going to be many on this year's docket. That, to me, it seems like one of those that's a double-digit victory.
Yeah, could be. And then week 9 at Cincinnati. This is our redemption game. I was chalking it up as a loss, but you bring up a good point where it's the regular season. There's not playoff implications. They're seeing them midway through the season. Both teams have a lot on tape. They want revenge. Miller will be back by then.
I can already
DeMar
see
Hamlin's
the
going to
media-
play in that game.
I can already see the media storylines going into that week. Like, do the Bengals just have the Bills' number? Like, are the Bengals just a bad matchup for the Bills? Like, and then they're going to talk about the DeMar Hamlin thing, like obviously so, rightfully so. But it's going to be like, yeah, do the Bengals have the Bills' number? Like, just Burrow has owned the Bills, and then they crushed.
They played
them.
one time.
So,
the first game didn't count because it didn't make it through.
Yeah, and then there might be the storyline of are the Bills going to be highly motivated to let everyone know that they this isn't a bad matchup. We do match up well against this team.
I think we do. We
out
obviously
of source last year, so
ran out of energy, ran out of focus and momentum. I mean, there were a lot of things that happened last year that we could use as an excuse. The point is they lost again.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game just because, we can't come out flat, and hopefully we can make a statement by winning.
The Bills are the only team over the last 3 years to win or a playoff game other than the Chiefs back to back to back.
Pretty cool.
So won the first round because the Chiefs always have a first round bye, so you can almost not even have them apply. We're the only team, including the Eagles, who've been good, the Rams. Some of them just fizzle out. The Bucks, they fizzled out. It happens. So
I just got sad thinking about how there's only one bye team in the playoffs again. Only one team gets a
that
bye,
did
and I'm
screw us
sad.
out. Whether the Bengals got screwed or the Bills for the second seed bye in the first round, I don't like it. I think there's eventually going to be 19 weeks, 18 games, or maybe 20 weeks with 2 byes. then you got to start the season a week earlier, and it
they
ends
got to
a week
figure
later.
out a way to get the other bye back again, where you've got
I'm all
two
with
teams in
Steve
each
Tasker's
conference
plan.
with a bye team.
Yeah.
Bye week.
Yes, that's the only way to do it though, is to have even games and even teams.
Season, the NFL season is too long, and there's too much at stake each week, and it's too hard to get to the Super Bowl and win it to not give two of the highest seeds a bye week.
I mean, you went from having 4 preseason games down to 3. And then you went from having 16 games to 17 after they had already changed years prior from 14 to 16. It's just the next shift. But I don't like 17. It doesn't really work. I do think
weird.
2 buys would be very nice. So they would have to start sooner. And you're talking about, oh, well, the season's already long. Yes, but the players are putting their lives on the line.
Yeah,
And they need more than 1 break before the playoffs.
Yeah, something doesn't sit right to me about seeing a 13 or a 14 win team potentially not getting a bye week in the playoffs.
They were 13-3.
Yeah.
And they could have been 14-3 or 13-4.
And yeah, it's easy to be like, oh, it's easy to be griping about it now because the Bills have been so close and haven't gotten it, and they've had the opportunities to get that 1 seed these last 2 years, and they pissed away the opportunity. But it's just I don't like it.
If there's an opportunity to stack wins, it's the first half of this schedule because it gets brutal the second half. I mean, they could start 6-2, 7-1, 8-0.
Yep.
We could be overlooking somebody that might be really good, but then we go into week 10 and we play Russell Wilson, who may have his head out of his ass by then.
Yeah.
And we play them
Monday Night Football, I believe.
at home
Yeah.
on ESPN, and then we play. Week 11, we play the Jets, this time in Buffalo. And I'm thinking week 1, we play the Jets in New York. If we somehow lose that, which I don't think we will, but if we somehow lose that, then they may lose that second one. I really don't want them to go 3-3 or 4-2 in the division, but they probably will. The Dolphins are a really good team. The Jets have given us trouble. I'm scared of their defense. And now their offense with Rodgers will be better, even though he's past his prime. They have young wide receivers who are really good. They have a coach that I like. Anyway.
Great running back. Core.
Running backs, yeah, for sure.
That Monday Night Football game against Denver is intriguing.
It is.
Allen plays well against Denver, and that was a team that passed him in the draft. There was a lot of talk about Elway being interested in getting Allen, and then they passed on him. And
Elway hasn't been good drafting quarterbacks in general.
No, he hasn't. But yeah, like, remember when Allen torched Denver to seal the AFC East a couple years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and he hit Kumaro down the middle on a fucking just heater.
No, yeah, it was on a rope.
So
right?
it'll be interesting to see how he plays, and the place is going to be rocking with.
Yeah.
Of course, Bills fans love Monday Night Football at home. So
Oh yeah, at home you play Denver, and then you're going at home again against the Jets, and then you go on the road to the defending NFC champion Eagles, who are stacked with a bunch of Georgia players. And their team in general is scary. I think my prediction last year was Bills versus Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I might repeat that this year. I might think if the Bills can actually get over the hump, this is the time to do it, and that if the Bills do make it that far, the Eagles have a very good chance of repeating. I mean, who's going to be in their way? Exactly.
The 49ers, yeah. But
True, 49ers were good. They ran into some quarterback depth issues and injuries. Now Jimmy G's playing in Oakland, Las Vegas.
The fact that I have to hesitate, though.
The Eagles have
NFC
a easier route.
Because I wanted to say Packers, and then I'm like, well, now Jordan Love. We don't know how Jordan Love's
not proven. Dallas hasn't been relevant in the playoffs for how long?
Yeah, Dallas should have came to mind probably quicker, just because they are a good team.
They have a lot of pieces, but
I'm thinking I it's weird, but the
still
Saints
the head
popped
coach.
in my head because I'm just like, as a dark
Saints?
horse.
Saints?
Okay. But that's still a long shot.
You know why? Well, no. Denver might be tough because of their head coach now. Because they have the old Saints head coach. Okay, so anyway, we were just supposed to brush
there's not
through
near
this.
as much competition in the NFC as there is in the AFC. Long story short.
Yep. So after we play the Eagles, we get that Week 13 bye. Thankfully, it's later in the year. Maybe when we're playing Tampa, that would be like a first bye week.
I can see why Lions fans, I can see why there's so much hype on the Lions. And if I was a Lions fan, I can see why you'd be so excited going into this season because of how wide open the NFC is.
They got Jack Campbell. Last year they had Aiden Hutchinson. They've got Goff, who's really still underrated. He's not, he's not that bad.
You want to talk about an anything can happen type of a year? I could see. My jaw wouldn't be dropped if the
Dan Campbell's a great
Lions
coach.
went on a playoff run. Like, I know they got to fucking make the playoffs first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to like the divisional round, and then we're all being like, "Oh my god, the Lions made it, went on a playoff."
Maybe
run.
we could both reverse our curses. Can you imagine playing them in the Super Bowl?
That would be
or the
wild.
Vikings? Can you imagine if the
man.
Vikings were
Bills,
good enough
Lions
with
in the Super
Cousins?
Bowl?
Whew. I mean, they lost Delvin Cook, and they have Justin Jefferson, a cousin, or the Vikings we're talking about now. Like one of those two cursed teams playing this cursed team.
I think you want to talk about a regression to the mean? The Vikings. I think that they're going to be. I could see them being like an 8, 9, 10 win team.
They weren't even that good when we were smoking them. We were winning by 17. I was at the game, and of course Jefferson's catch was mostly because the defender's like, "Here, I'm holding it here. Go ahead and take it." Just bat it away. We learned our lesson against Hopkins, didn't we?
Add it to the long laundry list of heartbreak.
Hopkins is still available.
Games that we should have won.
Yeah, we never really got into Hopkins. I think we're both over the fact that we're not going to get him. It would be a very big, pleasant surprise.
Honestly, our wide receiver room is stacked right now, and I think
it's pretty good.
I stand by this. Gabe Davis stays healthy on a contract year, and we're gonna be wondering.
He'll break 1,000 yards.
We're gonna be. I think the season's gonna be over, and Bills Mafia is gonna be like, we're gonna lose this guy, and that sucks.
Yeah.
I think after last year, you could be like, well, he dropped the ball a lot, but after this year, I think he's going to be healthy.
I was
He's going to put
disappointed.
over 1,000 yards. He's going to have a healthy touchdown stat line.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't get double digits now because we brought in Kincaid, who's going to be taking away targets, and you've got Hardy and Sherfield. I'm telling you though, man, Gabe Davis is going to put over 1,000 yards this year because he's going to if he stays healthy.
I was hoping last year off the momentum of the 4-touchdown playoff loss.
Man, and maybe I got like this recency bias because I was watching the best of highlights of Josh Allen.
He is good.
And a lot of those highlights of Josh Allen last season involved Gabe Davis.
Isn't it funny how the team that was Super Bowl favorites last year now became the team that people think should have been on Hard Knocks because of this drama in the offseason, because of the losing last year and all the, losing they were 13-2 and then lost that game. Or no, 13-3 and lost in the playoffs. But
the media is starting to turn, and just if the Bills...
Let's do it. I don't want to be
if the
favorites
Bills flop
right
out again this year, you just watch that.
No, they're going to be the Dolphins from the 90s with Marino that are very good but don't make it.
Maybe part of this is paying too much attention to other fan bases, other fans on the internet, But I just feel like there is kind of this sense of like I sense that there's this turning of like, oh, Allen's awesome and the Bills are Super Bowl favorites, or they're like this Cinderella story. Now I'm starting to feel like it's like all the pressure's on them. Why can't they get it done? It's already kind of started to happen. And if the Bills don't get booted early again in the playoffs, it's going to be like, I'm just telling you, it's going to be that like, there's already seems to be a lot of hate on the team now, which I think as Bills fans we're embracing. It's like, bring it, right? But I'm just saying it's interesting because like it goes, I don't know where that switch happens of where it's like, man, they're lovable to the media to like the hate comes,
We talked about this part when we went
maybe
to
I'm
breakfast.
investing too much time into that, but thinking about that.
No, but when we were at breakfast at Bannings with Jeff, shout out to Bills fan Jeff
Yes, sir.
Simpson, we were talking about how Jim Kelly was not always the superstar we made him out to be. He was a Hall of Famer. He gave the Bills a lot of hope and went to 4 straight Super Bowls, which was unprecedented and still is. But at times he was Jim Smelly. He made stupid, boneheaded mistakes. He fumbled. He threw picks when it mattered most. It was frustrating. Then you've got someone that people compare Josh Allen to, not just Big Ben, but like John Elway. It took him a long time to finally do it. Dan Marino.
I believe it took Elway till 30 years old to get one.
Dan Marino was his arm. He had the arm strength, but he had to get by the Bills, right? And even though they would see each other in wild card rounds sometimes, and they saw each other twice a year every year, and Marino had great receivers and a good team. I don't want Josh Allen to be the Dan Marino from the late 80s, early 90s. I just don't. I think that's his floor. His ceiling would be Big Ben winning Super Bowls, or better, obviously. I don't want to be Cam Newton going to a Super Bowl 2015 with a great defense and then you lose. I don't want that association. I want this to be a new era going into 2026 with a new stadium, which will be Highmark again, with a fresh, clean slate and a banner to post up. And we've got 2 years to do it. The 23, 24, 25 season, so 3 years to do it. And that's Josh Allen's prime. By year 9, his ass better get a Super Bowl. And that's about the time it took Elway.
I mean, the pressure is just going to keep on getting bigger, and I just think, I don't know, it's just like, you want that feel-good underdog, like Cinderella story, which once the Bills started to become good again, and especially, I think it was after we lost to the Chiefs in the title game.
Yeah,
it was kind of like that was when we were on the map. We were that close. We were clearly not there yet.
They changed the overtime rule,
and then it's like, but the Bills are performing in prime time. They're everyone wants to see him in prime time. Yeah. Allen performs
They're fun
well
to see.
In prime
They're going to
time.
be in prime time until Allen's no longer playing.
And then,
maybe they have
I think
someone
the
else,
13 seconds not only like hurt fans, but I think it also just kind of changed that narrative media, where that media narrative, where it's just kind of like
they can't win the big one.
Yeah,
McDermott's not the coach.
Back, yeah.
Oh, he's a defensive-minded coach. 8 of the last 9 teams to make it to the Super Bowl in the AFC were offensive-minded. No, look at Bill Belichick, right? I mean, he's the exception to the rule. There's a lot of them, like Andy Reid. He's phenomenal. And I do think you need a great offensive coordinator to lean on, especially if your head coach is a defensive-minded guy, because he's going to be focused on the defense. That was the hardest part with Dorsey, was he was basically thrown at the wolves, right? He was an offensive quarterbacks coach. Josh Allen endorsed him. They were basically pressured into, oh yeah, this is going to be our best situation. There was a learning curve. There still is. The stats were comparable to Dable's years. The difference is Allen had to do more to flatten that curve of not having all that creative genius of Dable.
Let's hope that we see more creativity.
Yes.
More creativity this year.
We go past the bye in week 13. We get into week 14. Kansas City. At Kansas City again. Keep in mind, it's not a conspiracy.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. We're playing in Kansas City again. What seems like 40 years in a row.
Oh, Kansas City. It's happening because it's based on where you finish in your division, and obviously you're playing the other conference, and you're playing your own conference. There's math behind it, but there's no conspiracy, okay? It's just legit. We're going to be on the crash course for years to come, so long as we're both relevant. And we play KC.
That first game that we finally play them in the regular season in Buffalo, they're going to be so loud. Oh, yes. Finally getting to see us play them.
They did during COVID, but it was
no fans.
No fans. So then week 15, we play at home against Dallas. So Zeke Elliott's gone, right? Dak Prescott's playing, and he'll be healthy, and we'll have weird butt fumbles or bad snaps or getting crushed on the last play of the season on a trick play. Or was that Zeke Elliott
Zeke got
crushed?
Lit up.
Woo! Anyway, we play Dallas. That's a 4:25 Eastern game, week 15. And then week 16, I could go to this game, LA Chargers. That will be 8 p.m., so that's going to be one of the 6 primetime games. Yeah, definitely fun.
So checking out that stadium is a must, I think.
Yeah.
That stadium looks cool.
Yeah, for sure. Then you've got at home against New England, and then we finish off in Miami.
Yeah.
So we will go over our predictions in another video. We want more time to look over this. Without telling you which games the Bills lost by our calculations, I have 12-5, and you have 13-4.
Yeah, I thought we were going to do the more in-depth thing next.
We're going
podcast.
to.
Okay.
I'm saying
This
is just without telling you which games I said we lost, that we projected for a loss.
Got it.
Our initial looking at the schedule and assessing it resulted in 12-5, 13-4.
Yes.
That's it. Leave us your predictions in the comments, who you think those losses are to. I've seen as bad as they're going to be 8-9 or 9-8 and not make the playoffs, finish 4th in the division, to they're going to go undefeated. Bills by $1 billion.
There's no way this team wins only 8 or 9 games. I think, and I can
it's
say
a brutal
that
schedule,
confidently because we still, despite everything working against us last year, we won 13 games.
I know.
There's no way this team is an 8 win. That's anyone that says that you are so filled with hate on this team for whatever the reason may be.
Look, we won back to back AFC East championships, going 13-3, 10-6, 13-3, and now we will hopefully play 17 games and we can finish above those 13. Maybe we could go 14-3.
It could happen.
13-4. Either way,
it would be one. I mean, it is a tough schedule, but this team is talented enough to win 14 games.
Yep. I mean, that is going to cover everything we have here. There was one more thing I wanted to say real quick as a side note. Matt Ariza, the punt god, he was cleared of his charges criminally. Now, they're still going to try to go after him. But the Jets apparently brought him in late May for a second chance, right? Heard nothing whether he signed. So most likely he didn't because they already have a punter. He would have been more depth. And I think maybe teams are avoiding the controversy. But if there's an injury during preseason or training camp, look out for that name. He may get another opportunity. Whether you agree with it or not, he was cleared criminally. It sucks to be in that sort of situation in general, whether it be the franchise, the fan base, or he himself, or even the accuser. Maybe there's more to this, and she was just too drunk to assume, because clearly she was in a bad situation, and maybe Matt was already gone, and that's why he was cleared. We're not TMZ here. We're not going to get into that. I already went too far, but
it's going to be a long month. We just got Bills Mafia. We just got to get to training camp, and then like we'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, it's going to be a long month of like, sports are pretty limited right now.
Yeah.
There's going to be people just
3 months of
seeking
baseball.
anything for a fucking story. We got to just get through like 4 or 5 weeks, and then things are going to get real fun here.
We are on all the major platforms for podcasting. We stream this on YouTube and Facebook. I'll probably post it on Twitter as well now that they can do longer videos. But we really do appreciate you for watching. And
hit the like button.
Yeah.
Subscribe if you want to
share with
be
your friends and
reminded when
family.
new episodes come out.
Well, you have any final words for Bills Mafia?
I mean, I don't want to talk about like pounding the bats and jumping through tables yet. We're not there yet. Like, we're entering the dog days of summer, and it's going to be a bit of a lull. Yeah. But I will say I'm excited. I'm already starting to get amped up for fantasy football. I'd be lying if I didn't say I've already done a few mock drafts, because I'm just getting that itch.
How many did you say you've done?
I don't even want to say.
A lot.
But I can't wait. Like, I want to talk to Jake about getting the fantasy draft order idea done, to where we could even maybe do it next weekend, because I want to get the draft order set.
That's too early.
Because I just want to know for drafts and stuff.
Okay,
like for
the draft
mocks
order
and
for sure.
everything.
That I can even do that in our league. That's good to know, because what you're going to do at 2 is a lot different than what you would do at 10 or 12.
I'm just excited. I just love fantasy football. I wish the draft was today, because I just want to draft my team. So.
Yeah, get ready for Greg's hot takes that will almost entirely be wrong. You never know.
I am 20-8 in my fantasy football college league that over the last 2 years. So
almost went back to back.
I won 2 years ago. I won in 2022, or I won in 2021, and then I was starting the Lions defense that got me minus 10 points away from making the championship last year. So that would have been 2 championships in a row, or 2 championship appearances in a row. Yeah. I'm 20-8. Look, I'm not. I'm bragging about fantasy football, which is just stupid. But I love it. So
we went golfing today. This is the final thing I'm going to say. For his going away party, we're going to do a little farewell golfing at a local club here.
Yep.
And we went today just to check it out first.
Scout it out.
Yeah, we had some pretty good balls. He skipped one off the water. It skipped 4 times off the water and bounced, I'd say, 60 yards. And I had a hell of a drive. And his ball, after bouncing off the fountain water, probably was 30 yards short of mine.
Man.
Still.
It was wild. And then, like, there was like rough, loose rocks. Like, it was like a layer of loose, rough rocks.
And it skipped
right
through
outside
it or
of
over
the
it.
pond. And then there was like smooth, like cement past
That's what it hit. That's what it hit.
And it somehow skipped over the rough rocks onto the cement, popped onto the fairway.
I filmed a couple of his
it's wild.
tee hits and maybe 1 or 2 other ones in the fairway. But I did not film that one, and I regret it, because that would have been
so much fun
to
see. But yeah, man, golf. Like I was telling Scott, golf has always been this, like, in the background of my mind. Like, not much. I don't pay attention to it. I've watched, like, the Masters and Tiger Woods, of course.
Yeah.
But I can probably still count on 2 hands the amount of times I've seriously played golf, and I always thought it was too expensive, and the hoity-toity, and it's just like, it's kind of this like fancy
It can
sport,
be, but it doesn't
right?
need to be.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. And now as I'm approaching my mid-30s, I'm starting to, like, develop this appreciation and this hunger to want to play some more golf. Like,
well, for
I'm
me,
gonna have to try to get my brother into golf, play in Madison during the summers.
And they have beautiful courses, I'm sure. I turned 41 on May 30th, and my 40s are different than me. Like, in my 30s, when I lived in Florida for 9 years, I didn't go golfing but once a year, maybe, when my uncle came down. And it was, like, of course, one of the
sweating your
nicest.
Asses off, humid.
Yes, but we
nice
dressed
days.
like this. Actually, you were wearing one of my hoodies today because it was chilly. So we met for breakfast at 7 a.m. It is now 7 p.m. So we're talking 12 hours after breakfast. we had already golfed and we've eaten and we've, recorded.
Yeah, I mean, we
been a long day.
were on the golf course for almost 4 hours when you talk about warming up, the tee time.
Yep.
And then we joined 2 other random people, super cool couple that joined us because it was kind of getting backed up. So they joined us and we played together, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
And I finished the round with 2 back-to-back pars, which I was really happy
He started
about.
really poorly, where I had the hole that he got 11 on, and he made me count it. I got 5 on a par 4, but he was bouncing off trees and houses.
It was a straight line par 3.
Yep.
It was a par 3, right? Hole 2? Or was it par 4?
I don't know.
I think it was a par 3. It was not that long of a hole. It was straight on, but you had trees very narrowly on each side, as well as houses on your right side. And I sent it with some air into the trees, dropped right next to a fence line next to someone's house, and then I hit it by the fence right into a tree that ricocheted right into someone's
I just hear dunk, dunk,
siding.
dunk. You thought someone was going to come running out.
Yeah, and then I hit a tree. Then I tried to get, then I pretty much took a drop, and then presumed it ended up being 11 strokes. Man, it was horrible.
But between that and your next one, which was 10, 21,
21 strokes in 2 holes.
and then he made up for it afterwards and really...
I had a couple nice approach shots. I had that final par 3 on hole 9 where it was over the water, and I got it right onto the green. That's always a good feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
You had a couple of awesome drives where you straight
My drives
down the
were
middle.
good.
And a lot of distance, a lot of height.
My first putt that I sank, it was downhill and angled, and I just went... I hit it like it was going to go 1 foot and way to the left, and it did exactly what I was hoping to do. It was like playing Tiger Woods golf, and
That's what makes golf fun, because you have the frustrating moments, and then you have those moments where you just want to give that Tiger Woods fist pump.
Yeah,
Go pick up that ball out of the cup.
broken clocks right twice a day, and that was my moment.
As you pick the ball out, just give
I know.
a wave to the crowd.
Oh, I'm glad we could implement hockey and lacrosse and golf and everything.
We covered
else.
almost everything today in sports.
Yeah, I mean, did we cover basketball? The Nuggets one? I mean, now we covered all of it. And PGA sold out to live, like they're merging. That's BS after all the crap, all the drama that went on. Whatever, it's all under one big umbrella now. Again, that's going to do it for this edition of the House at Allen Build. I am Scott Kinmartin, and with me, as always,
Greg Vollmer.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Let's go, Buffalo!
I'm going to miss that, man. I'm going to be over here on...
No, we're just going to be on video. It'll just be like a...
It's not the same as that
I know.
nice little clap we got, you know? You like when I do that?
Welcome back to another edition.
I don't even remember how I do it.
Welcome back to another episode of The House That Allen Built.
Welcome
I'm
back
Scott
to another
Kinmartin,
edition of the House at Allen
And
Built.
with me as always,
I'm Scott Kinmartin. With me as always.
Scott Kinmartin.
And today we're going to talk about the off-season draft results, free agency, Madden cover, relationship conspiracies. Damn. All right. Here we go. This is stalling now.
I know you want. I know I want you.
Hello? Hello. Welcome back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
St. John's Fishers.
St. John Fisher.
Damn.
Thank
Nice.
And I want to go golfing again.
I think it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, the lights aren't on. We're both wearing something Josh Allen related on a podcast titled after Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you have new glasses on.
Different. They're an old bear.
They're skinny.
Old bear, yeah.
A lot smaller.
Skinny. Like my penis.
They frame your eyes. Man, you're like nearly blind.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording. So remember, it's going to cut off after 30.
Is there a bug going around? Is that what it was? Like a little fruit
gnat.
fly or something? Gnat, you're right. Oh, there it is. Look at the fucker. He's tiny. Shit, I should have killed him.
But therell still be times when we do go to a game together, and we'll have those
Yeah,
memories.
but no more pizza logs for you at the Tinker Tavern. No more having Rick as your neighbor.
True.
No more living next to all that cool stuff and going to Timbers games. You're going to miss it. Trust me, when I moved
know.
from Florida I was so distracted for 2 years being back in Buffalo. And then I got the opportunity to travel across the country and then move over to here, Oregon. I'm like, God, I lived in Florida for 9 years. You just get so used to being freaking hot and humid and then going into air conditioning or jumping in a pool to cool off. And you kind of take for granted that you have Disney and Universal and SeaWorld and Daytona Beach and Cocoa Beach and Clearwater and Tampa. Not far at all. And you can even go up to Jacksonville. I've gone to Jaguars games. I've gone, there's Tallahassee and the Gulf of Mexico, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, my point is, you're going to miss the things that you didn't get to do. You should have done more hiking. This state is known for waterfalls, and I feel like we never really went on hikes together. And that's something I used to do all the time.
Yeah.
But dude, for somebody that used to run,
yeah,
I never ran for fun in my life. I never liked it. Even if I was fast, I was always top 5 on my team, whatever I did. Mm-hmm. In college, I ran a 4.71. It wasn't blazing for a linebacker, and I was undersized. But I was always quick. I was faster on a field than I ever was being timed. My point is, I hated doing it. It was always usually obligatory or a disciplinary thing. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, go run an extra lap, you're late, or this or that. Or I hated it. You, with running, you'd think you'd like to freaking move those chicken legs of yours.
Well, truth be told, I never ran because I enjoyed it either. I ran because I was good at it and I had low self-esteem, and it was one of the things in life that I was like, I'm good at it, and I get positive reinforcement from it.
Well, damn. Now that you went there.
But yeah, so I never really I developed a somewhat of a passion for it in college because of my coach. For the first time, because I didn't really have a passion for it in high school.
You have talked highly of that coach, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely did help instill like a desire to like where I did want to go out and train and run and.
My linebacker coach made me want to quit.
It wasn't, yeah.
It was the opposite.
So it wasn't entirely true that, but at the end of the day though, I never truly loved it, like where I was like, it was like it was a thing that I was good at, and that was it feels good to be good at something.
Yeah. Oh, of course it does. That's where you get your confidence and your ego stroked and momentum and, you look good, feel good, play good, all that kind of stuff. They might reveal wearing a red helmet this year because they couldn't last year. Remember when Allen came out and teased us? But they couldn't do it? What I didn't like was it was like reversed, where this was white and these were blue.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. Red out here, white, and I don't know. It just was funky. I know it's different. And what's funny is we were white for the longest time with O.J. Simpson era and like the Standing Buffalo. Then we went to the red for 20 years, and then that got old after the Super Bowl era. Then we went to early 2000s, Drew Bledsoe, the crazy dark blue jerseys with an alternate to that. Then we went back to the white, and then no longer blue face mask from like the 80s with, Fred Smirlis. Yeah. We went to white face mask, so all white, or a mixed match of the newer, lighter blue. And now they might go back to a red after another 20 years.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen, yeah. Josh.
Got me feeling like I'm
Who? Josh. Yeah.
Josh Allen.